Welcome everybody. Thank you all for coming. It's going to be a great morning. Welcome to Choose Your Own Adventure, PPP style. My co-host today will be Kate Plummer.
Hello. And then my co-host is Steve Polish.
Yes. Yeah. Vanna White was booked, so unfortunately, but I think I upgraded. Again,
I tried to find a pretty face.
Kate Plummer's been in the industry since she was 7 years old. Again, I won't tell you how long she's been in the industry because women don't like to know their age, but she's been in. And she tells me she's a big deal. She's very famous. You should all know her. So I don't even have to introduce her. She is basically the promotional princess. She's a social media guru. So she's great with technology. And she's also part of a company called Clearmount Plastics. Get to know them. Hey.
And this is Steve. He works for T&M Promotions out in Winnipeg. You will recognize him because he volunteers for everything and is on the board and volunteers. So this is a character you want to know. You'll see him on the floor, grab him into your booth, grab his opinion on everything. He's good.
Cool. And opinions are free. So, we've all been there. We've all had that rough morning. We get in the office, you know, we have our cup of coffee, we sit down at our desks, and all of a sudden the phone rings. What do? Do you pick up that phone, or do you let it go to voicemail? How many people would pick up the phone? How many people would let it go to voicemail? Good choice. Well, those of you that picked up the phone, guess what? You got a telephone solicitor on the call. And they're wondering if you can subscribe to the latest in Big Brother's big fundraising drive, and they're going to put you down for $500. Now, those of you that didn't answer, guess what? The voicemail's left. You just won the lottery. That's good. That's your Choose Your Own Adventure for the day, just to get you in the feel of things for today. Again, we have placards on the table. We're going to give you a little just introduction to what each table discussion will be. Again, you get to choose your table so you can move. If you don't like the topic or the table you've been situated at, you can move to a different table. You're going to have two choices. So you're going to discuss the topic that you're at for about 20 minutes, and then we're going to flip you to another table. Okay, so you get two choices. Kate, do you want to describe their first option today?
So the first one is making dues count. What are you getting out of the association? Remember, these are all preliminary questions. If you want to take it right down a different path, we have no problem with that. These are just to get your brain working this early in the morning. So what are you getting out of the association? What do you participate in? What would make you participate more? What suggestions do you have for services the PPPC could provide? And we've got a next one, technology.
Technology. Now, when you get to tech, what's working for you? Is technology working for you? Have you caught on to the social media bandwagon? Is it worth all the time and effort that you put into it? Is your website driving traffic? How can an association and a supplier distributors work together to drive traffic to your website? And about the future of technology. Have you thought about it? Where is it going to be in 5-10 years?
Next one is trade shows. And do end user shows work, which I'm really interested to hear. Do we still need trade shows now that we have the internet? What should we do to improve attendance? Are tabletop sales reps the tools we need? Supplier distributor, what sells you on a product? And what is your tip for getting the most out of the trade show?
Cool. Then we go to relationships. I was going to say, you know, your typical relationship discussion is when you wake up the next morning and you don't recognize the person that's sleeping next to you. But no, we're going to talk about relationships in the industry. Freebies, samples. Who should be responsible for buying samples? Should the suppliers just give us everything for free, or should distributors have some weight in that? Pricing, preferential pricing. Now, I used to call this the Phil Kessel problem. You know, and those of you in Toronto probably know. Do superstars get treated differently than the normals? Should the big companies get preferential treatment based against the small distributors? Okay, so there's another topic there.
Then we've got the future. We're not going 10, 20 years. We're going, what's your 1 year? What's your 5 year? What has happened that you didn't expect? And that big one, what do you see being a major influence on this industry? The internet has changed everything, so what's next?
Cool. So those are your 5 topics. Now, we give you cheat sheets. Okay, so if you're at a table and you didn't remember some questions, or if you need help, if you look on the back of the placard, it has all those questions or different ideas to start your topics. Okay, again, look at it. Dues and making your dues count is in this corner. We have future over here, trade shows, we have relationships. Again, if you don't like the table you're situated at right now, now's the time to move. We're going to give you 20 minutes to basically discuss. No, David, you can't sit here. Nice try. No, it's a little crowded. Cool.
I got a question. Was this done on purpose, or are you using paper and she's using her phone?
Future's here.
Yes, yeah. I think that way. Yeah. Cool. So we're going to give you 20 minutes. Now, what I need you to do is basically pick a spokesman from your table, somebody to make notes, and somebody to present at the end. We're going to switch tables in about 20 minutes, so you get another topic, and then we will recap. So there has to be a different person basically doing the speaking from 2 different topics. So there should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, quick math. There should be 10 different presenters at the end. Any questions? Clear as mud. Perfect. Get to work.
Your 20 minutes start now.
Everybody's attention, I'm going to clear up some of the confusion too. You can move. So you've all picked a designated speaker who has the notes. They're going to take the notes with them. What we wanted is a mixture of people so you're not sitting with the same people and stuff. So you are moving tables. Okay? You don't get to be with all your friends for the entire day. If it's time, it's networking, it's time to meet new people. Just discuss. So basically now let's go review. We have the dues conversation, making your PP. Oh, trade shows, it moved? Where's dues go? Who's at dues? Dues are over there in the corner, which nobody's at. So if you ever want to make your dues count, how as association do you make your dues count? It's right over there in the back corner. No offense. We also got trade shows. So if you haven't done trade shows, we've got trade shows in the corner over here and here. So if you want to go to basically discuss trade shows, do end user shows work? What can you get out of a trade show? Whose responsibility is for teaching people how to work a trade show? Okay, over here we have relationships. These 2 tables right here talking about the supplier-distributor relationships, why we're here. And then if you're really bold, future. Okay, you can discuss the future of the industry. And if you'd like to talk to Ed, we have technology in the back corner, which is a great topic. If you were here last year, we did a lot on technology, but technology, again, when you're in these conversations, you guys have a lot of good points. I've heard a lot of good points. Once you've got a problem, think of how you solve it as a supplier distributor, because there are a lot of problems out there. When you're looking at all this stuff, how do we come up with a solution? What's the solution to solve some of these problems so that we can present it to the board and we can make some policy? Anyways, time to get up, stretch the legs.
Also,
pick a
let's
table.
try and get a little mingling here. The red's got to mix with the blacks, and let's see some supplier-distributor chatter. We've got some unique tables.
Next year we're going to go 1, 1, 2,
Yeah.
2.
Okay, we got to move fast because we got booths to get to. So, dues. Who was a spokesperson for dues that wants to cover anything?
Okay, we're going to go with dues. Who wants to be dues? Now, I think we only had 1 table of dues, so we should only have 1 spokesman, right? Making your dues count. Okay.
I think that would be good if it was Roz.
Okay, welcome to, who's doing American Idol?
I know Alex.
Okay.
Hi, Steve.
Hello. Yeah.
My name is Rosalind Plummer. I'm with Clearmount. Oh, yeah. I'm just a new person here. No one really knows me. Dues. We felt that they, that the price was fine, that they had value, and that we've drank the Kool-Aid. We thought that Lynn had a very passionate statement that she made that we will get a testimonial from her afterwards. I think that we need to post. We thought that it was reflective of the benefits that we received from the association. But there are problems and there are issues, and we need to figure out ways to get other members to participate. Obviously, and you only get out what you put in. And that's obviously what the people in this room have decided. They're participating, whereas we're just a small number, and there are others who are not participating. So we also felt that perhaps we need to consider more of a personal outreach from head office, and we need a more of a multi-prong approach. And David, I guess I shouldn't tell who said what. You were so eloquent. David felt that it was the board's responsibility to direct our head office staff to make customer service and reaching out more of a priority with our members. To continue. I missed that part. Not that they don't do a good job, but they continue to do it because it's important that members feel engaged and a part of our association. We talked about perception, community. Jamie had a really good point that the reason why he joined the PPPC and the reason why he pays his dues and has no problem with that is that he gets a sense of community from the organization. And for him, that's very important. And he has the opportunity to network, get best practices, and I think that compared to other associations out there that we, as other suppliers or distributors who pay for, that we all felt that PPPC gives us the best bang for our buck at this point. Not that PPAI doesn't, for all of us who belong to that as well. What else? And I think that we need to maybe go back and ask our members to be creative about what they want from the association and how we can get them to participate more. So there you go.
Cool.
Perfect. Any other dues or any comments that anyone wants to make on that?
I've got one, Teach. I've been in this industry for over 20 years now, and I always hear about increasing participation. Everybody complains about it, but I've yet to hear a solution. How would you guys in this room increase participation? You're all here, so you guys are obviously participating, but you guys are a small percentage of our membership. Okay, so does anybody know a solution? Like, what would you do? You're in charge now. What would you do to increase participation? Would you feed them? Would you give them free booze? Spiff them.
Yeah, so have prizes. I think you need to really create Alain, you said something, create a buzz. Get people really excited. I gotta go to that show.
No, we're talking participation in the association. It could be
Yeah,
trade shows.
It could be a trade show, whatever. But I think you got to create excitement. You got to create buzz.
Yeah. Okay. So how would you go creating buzz? What would you do other than spiff? What prizes would you give?
I would, it doesn't have to be trips. It could be any kind of incentives. It could be, but you just got to get people like, hey, yes, Kathy.
Yeah.
A number of us are leaders here. You lead your business, and you encourage and lead by example. And you encourage your team to participate, so they understand the value.
Okay.
I just said I think we're all leaders here, so you lead by example. And by showing up and encouraging your team to be present, they will then understand the value of being here.
Good
Okay,
topic.
so we're on the clock, so the next topic of technology. So who is the rep for technology? Anyone take on technology? No, we took it off?
We must have done such a good job last year. We didn't need to do technology. That's
So
good. Don't
let's
worry.
go.
You don't have to worry about the internet, social media, nothing. Technology, it's just a fad. It's not going to last.
So I'm excited about trade shows because over there we have a table of all suppliers, but the table of that beforehand was all distributors. So the conversation was very different from each side. So yeah, and trade shows over here.
So who wants to tackle trade shows first? There we go.
Hello. Well, we had a few things. We had a good discussion on lots of topics, but we didn't get anywhere.
It was David's fault. Going on.
We think generally trade shows work, but the way the millennials are, they're not as interested in seeing the product. They're searching online and they're satisfied with that. So further down, our tabletops or sales reps tools, I believe it goes, needed. So, well, sales reps would be, because then they can go directly to the distributor and provide samples. So I think sales reps are necessary in different cities. I know I use them. Do we need the national trade show? Yes, I think we do need the national trade show. We came to that conclusion, and supporting it and encouraging others to show up. The multi-line shows, on the other hand, or no to the top shows, because it's a cost to the association, and a lot of these reps, your own reps are doing their own tabletop shows and consolidating costs within their own little businesses. So to throw tops out there, if it wasn't there, more members would be encouraged to come to the national show. On the fly, I was thinking attendance, and I was thinking enticements. So you've got to be in to win. The suppliers are on board, and everyone gets a scratch and win. However, they don't all go to the larger companies across the board. If someone wins, that company's allotment is done. So more people have a chance to win. So essentially, everybody's going to be winning when they show up at a show. Everyone has the scratch card that says you win, and you win with the stipulation, if your company has already won, then you go back into a draw for a secondary or tertiary prize or something. So incentives, I think, it wouldn't have to be a big ticket item, but if everyone's kicking in $25, then there is a huge prize for the distributors to show up. Different cities, Montreal and Toronto make sense, and financially it would make sense if they were booking 4 years here and 4 years there and alternating over a longer period of time. Whereas if it was just every year switching cities, they may not even be able to book with the hotel or the conference centers. So in a nutshell, that's all we had.
Cool. Thank you very much. Another table on trade show. There should be 4 speakers at trade show.
The distributors, come on, I know you guys.
No hiding.
Hi, I'm Grant Russell, Russell Agencies. I think I'm the only multi-line rep in this room. The table that I sat at with to talk about trade shows had 2 really good-sized distributors who really like the idea of end-user shows. And I kind of agree, because it really creates a buzz. As an example, one of the distributors puts up a huge tent. They spend like $20,000. It creates almost like $100,000 in immediate sales, which is phenomenal. But more importantly, it builds the relationships with their clients. It gets the end users coming back to them for more ideas throughout the year. So the end user show is definitely something that needs to continue and keep growing. And let me see. As far as the PPPC national show, we should really start thinking outside of the box and think about other venues, other cities.
Winnipeg. Keep going.
No.
We have to get out of the comfort zone. So that's something that we really need to take a look at.
Yeah.
Let me just see what else we had here. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, then we've got the lovely millennial from Brand Alliance.
Ho, ho.
And she's speaking for the distributor table. Well, there you go.
Well, through all the different topics that we talked about, we always seem to circle back to that the distributors and the suppliers have to take ownership while doing the trade show. So distributors would have to step up to engage their clients, whatnot, to come to the shows, and what can they do to entice them to actually attend. And then the same with distributors, or not distributors, but suppliers also step up, just because it seems that distributors and suppliers kind of don't take ownership on the trade shows, like how to actually make it effective for them. And we all, I guess, from our discussion, we all kind of thought that distributors and suppliers kind of expect the organization to make the trade shows work, whereas it really comes down to us because we're the ones that are running the business. And we also talked about how the trade shows are good in a way that it helps us with networking. So we're all developing the relationship between the suppliers and the distributors to create that relationship so that we can actually have better partnerships with each other. And as well as the physical product viewing so that when clients do come to us and ask about product, we actually have seen it and can give some sort of feedback so they have a little more trust in what we're trying to sell them. So, yeah.
Lovely.
Perfect. Thank you. Is there one more?
Yeah, there's the supplier. Kippy, can we count on you to share your thoughts? You're so shy. Time to branch out.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Kippy Helsel with CPS Keystone, and I'm just going to really briefly summarize, and then there was a very new, interesting thought that came up from the table. But basically, as suppliers, we recognize we incur the biggest cost. We incur the time, the actual cost itself. We believe in the national show. Clearly, we recognize that shows have become, it's hard, they become more regional, just looking at the US compared to the Canadian market and trying to figure out where can you potentially move a show and hold a show that will draw attendance, but you have to look at the distributors in the immediate area. So ultimately, Toronto still is the answer, but this length of a show is very costly. The end user day, we all feel it's more PR for the association. We see the benefit to the industry, but it doesn't necessarily benefit us as suppliers. And again, it's incurring more cost for us to be out of the office. End user shows, we believe, are best run by distributors where suppliers have some accountability to be able to hold the distributor to an expectation of some return and results for us. So again, we could go on and just kind of the same comments that we've talked about, but there was a very interesting, do you mind talking about? Why don't you talk? I want you to talk about. We had a very interesting comment from our South African friends, and here I think.
I'm Tony Ronci from Souvenir Avanti. We found out from this gentleman here at the table that in South Africa, the suppliers hold the show, and they invite distributors to come. And what I find as we think about that more and more, it really appeals to me because what better way to get rid of the rogue distributors that are undercutting everybody. We should really at least endeavor to have the board look at that model, and it might be the answer to the future, to the biggest problem of all in this industry, which is distributors cannot be as loyal as we suppliers would like them to be simply because they're faced with the kind of competition that makes them have to go for the lowest price sometime. And it's not always that easy to maintain your loyalty to a supplier. But if we have the ability to eliminate these rogue distributors from the industry if we kind of look at the South African model. So I hope the board will at least endeavor to look at it and see if it's possible.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. And again, I look at all this and I hear all this and I see a big problem here. It's not the trade show itself. It's the people walking the trade show. It's the people, the suppliers there. It's almost like, as an association, correct me if I'm wrong, do we have a responsibility to be training our people on how to work a trade show? So the suppliers get value out of it and distributors get value out of it. I heard the end users was a good time and then I hear it's a bad time. Why? Are the end users not educated on how to walk? Are they not accompanied so they get the most benefit out of it? The worst thing I see is having that distributor that's just there and basically the supplier wastes their time with them and they're not even a buyer. They're there for the free meal or for the free swag. So it gets to the question, I guess the question is whose responsibility it is to teach these people on how to walk a trade show. Because I'm sure if you guys were all getting the full benefit out of a trade show, you had the sales call, they were qualified leads, this would not be a discussion. Okay, everybody would go, we need more trade shows because I can't believe how busy I am after one. Okay, I can't believe that I get good quality people. It's not quantity. I'm telling you people, it's not quantity. You don't need more people at these trade shows. You need more quality at these trade shows. Cool, any other things? We can move on to relationships. I can't maintain one, so I can't talk about it, but who wants to go first?
Alex, you've been spotted.
We got a question?
I said a quick point about what you said.
Yep.
past couple of years, we have exhibited down at the expo in Las Vegas, and we purposely took the brand pavilion, and the caliber that we found of the distributors coming through the brand pavilion was on average better than what was in the regular area. And I'm not proposing that everybody should get into the brand pavilion, but what I am saying is it made a big difference to us to be able to talk to the good distributors, the ones who are serious about buying and everything else, and it helped quite a bit.
Yeah, Kippy also made the point of this year it felt down in Vegas that there were more qualified buyers out there, that there were people who they're not just, she said the recession kind of cleaned out the bottom, which I've also noticed is that people are coming in and knowing what they're talking about instead of sort of like, what's new, what's your son special, like what are your clear outs. So yeah, so it's definitely changed. There's
They're
two
working
more, we're
on
going to
it.
bring
They're
them
working on it.
Yeah.
Who wants to do relationships? Who's the first volunteer for relationships?
Alex is.
I don't have notes, I'm sorry. I'm going to do my best to remember what we talked about. So we're on relationships. First major question was freebies. Oh, sorry, I'm Alex from Redwood. And how important are freebies, low price items that you get at shows? And I think we have a good mix of suppliers, distributors that have been in the industry for a long time, and some that have only been in the industry for a little while. Freebies are generally not working anymore. I mean, most of the time the freebies that you get, they're not your hot seller, or they're not your high price point item. They're usually a very low price point item. And when you get it, well, I'll use a pen as an example. It ends up in your desk, and you really don't ever pull it out again. But in terms of samples, I think it's really trending towards free samples are not really the answer. At the end of the day, they're really hiding the costs into your price when you purchase a product, and that goes from a supplier end and a distributor end. But what is working are spec samples, because that's a sample that you're actually working on with the client, taking it to them because they're expecting what they're getting. And I think that's where the industry's really gearing towards too, are spec samples as opposed to just any samples that's off the rack.
Specs get checks.
Yeah.
Specs get checks.
I mean, Alain had a good point. He said when he does a spec sample, was it 80%? 80% sale to get to transfer into a sale, right? So that's a very, very high number as opposed to getting a free sample that your client really has no use for. The next question is preferential pricing. How do small companies compete? I mean, at the end of the day, it's about education. You're at these events, you're learning, and learning best practices. And as a supplier and a distributor relationship, the distributor is always going to ask, but I think it's very important on how the ask is. It's not always, there's a very fine line between a supplier and a distributor and a partnership. And having that partnership, it's a two-way street. There's respect both ways. And it comes down to you don't ask, you don't get, but it's how you ask. It's how are you going to help me? Can you help me with the problem? Not you need to help me with this problem. I think that's very important, and it goes a long way in how you ask. And we actually didn't really get to see, so I can't really speak on that.
You have Elaine at the table, I'm not surprised. Cool, that's some good topics. Again, and we're going to go to Jamie right here. I always ask myself, you know, life's not fair. Should everybody be treated equally, or should your superstars be treated differently than the people, basically your grinder line? And again, I originally called that the Phil Kessel problem, again, for that reason. Anyways, Jamie.
Okay, in terms of relationships and regarding the free stuff and all of that, I think it gets down to relationship. One of the things I was thinking of is that what happens when my customers phone and say they want to see a sample or they want something? I'm not on the phone with them, frankly, going, okay, give me your courier number. Or sometimes I could say, yeah, I'm going to have to pay for that. I'll get it for you, but if you order, don't worry about it. I mean, the point is, don't look cheap. I mean, you have a relationship. If it's a working relationship, I think it's just as important to understand that a supplier has to incur expenses as a distributor has to incur expenses in order to make a sale. And if things are working, I would suggest that well, and this goes a little beyond what we were saying, but I've been thinking about it since we spoke. But I mean, we're trying to do business. If a distributor's supporting you and you're getting business from them and they need something couriered to you, get it to them because they're trying to make a sale. I mean, that's all part of the selling process. Everybody will make money. If the distributor sounds like some guy who's going to, they keep asking for stuff, and I have sympathy, and this is where I have sympathy for suppliers. There's so many small distributors asking to send stuff out every day, and the courier charge ends up being far more expensive than the actual product that you're sending out. Man, that's a difficult situation. I think that the distributor should be forking out, because if they realize that they don't make that much money for this supplier, then they should be forking out some money to get the samples if it's that important to them. And yes, both will make money, but it'll change. So the other things, just to go over what we talked about, mutual respect to grow the business. I think that ties into what I was talking about. Trust and collaboration, communications, open both ways to ask questions, to get suppliers involved early in projects. I think that's a big part of how our industry is working. Technology is working in such a way that, I mean, both parties have to add value, and we can skip out. I mean, suppliers could potentially not use a distributor, and distributors certainly have the option of different suppliers. Really collaborating, working together is an important part of it all. So that would be it.
Thank you, Jim. Was there anybody else relationships? I think there was only 2 tables, if I counted right. My math is bad. Okay.
Just as a point on Jamie's, there was an article about a couple months ago, and it was talking about that, of like who pitches in, and the point made was it's an investment on both sides. So both sides have to be willing to say, I'll help you get the sale, but you have to help work for this as well. So yeah, it's an interesting topic. Go ahead.
Well, good morning. My name is Murray Jeffries. I'm with Flying Colors. This is my first event with Promotional Products, and I'm speaking to you with an assembly of viewpoints. We had relationships, and they span from freebies, supplier relationship to distributor. We drifted around the subject, and we came down to the value proposition at the end user. We recognize that there is a difference between the assembly of products. If somebody has a high complex sale where they're assembling a number of different products into an array or into an alignment in the sale for the end user, then we would call that a high complex sale. That's something probably where the value of the representative or the distributor is truly sought there. I think you began to talk on something like that, where you start to specify the scope of work, the visuals. You may have 12-point polyolefin, you may have coroplast, you may have some vinyl, you may have a variety of things. Those type of things I think suppliers in general will support. Because it is a true value scenario. It has been qualified. There is a professional element to it. But if we're going out to sell something that really is readily available, a single event type of thing that is on the internet, we suspect that the industry has changed, that we would consider that as being a low complexity sale. It is more direct. The industry is morphing into that direction. Some comments have been made that the direct sale, if you were to create the overhead to sell a pen, it doesn't make any sense for the distributor to do that. Nor does it make a lot of sense for the supplier to be providing a lot of samples to support that in the same range. They'd be better off to use other tools, social media tools, internet, things of that type on a direct basis. The competitive framework has changed. We have to grow up to the fact that is actually the case, as we do as professionals in the commercial area. So in summary then, we would say that there's 2 different types of arrangements now. A sales or a distributor creates value in the value proposition in a high complex type of a sales environment where they're doing possibly multi-lines, defining the scope of work, and there is a low complexity sale, which essentially does not really provide for a lot of time being spent in that area. Is that pretty much that capture?
Yep.
Everything? There was one comment, Matt, that I really found interesting, was that a true sales proposition actually creates value in the account, and possibility that the internet and those types of things have created that, to some extent, that value. So if we were just approaching the industry as an order-taking type of role, then we will be replaced, but if we're adding true value into the accounts, we will not be. And that's pretty much. Any questions? Grant, do you want to?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
We're going to move on just as a time constraint because I think we have a trade show coming up or something. Future. Who did Future? There was a table over here. Future. There's got to be a
over
spokesman. There we go. The future of the industry right here.
You have 3 minutes.
Well, I might as well finish off the Clearmount Plumber triumvirate there. We did Future. We had a full table of suppliers, so we're a little bit biased here. But anyway, basically broke down to certain topics. One was the one-year plan. And most of us are talking about social media. We're increasing social media as much as we can, the website presence, dealing with the millennials, the ones who aren't coming to the shows. We better have a damn good website, and we better maintain it properly. The other thing that came up, too, is the increased credit protection. The suppliers are very concerned about the economy in Canada, especially Western economy. And we're, I think that puts it quite clearly as we're concerned about it, and so our credit departments are going to be a little more careful. The 5-year plan was supplier-distributor relationships. We don't want to simply email people with quotes. We want to be able to build the relationships with each other, sort of like the old days, where you can sell the product, you can move the product, and give the distributor the tools that they need to sell it without having to compete with 17 other distributors. Also, the innovation of our products, trying to bring out more products, better products, and so on. And also managing the mega distributors. This is a concern to suppliers. Some of the large distributors coming through, we're seeing some pretty serious contracts that are being presented to us, and that, of course, is a concern as well. What is happening that you didn't expect? The mega distributors we did not expect. 5 years ago, I don't think we expected some of the distributors to be quite as large as they are. It's almost becoming the Walmart and Costco of the industry. And the last thing we want to do is commoditize our product. The other thing we didn't expect, of course, is the Alberta Western economy. And the other thing was major influences. I think that was the topic. Was technology. They're also going down the road is the trend to cut out the middlemen, which is we've got to take a look at. And yesterday's presentation was very good at the very end. Somebody had asked a question about what's happening with our industry and how the whole system is working. And she made a very good point. She said, you look at Uber with the taxis and so on. She said, something will happen in our industry in the next 5 years. Be prepared for it. Because sooner or later, somebody's going to take a look at our model. They're going to realize that it's not working, or if it is working, and they're going to change it, and they're going to change it radically. So you better be prepared for what's going to happen. And that was it.
Perfect. Thanks, David. So you painted a bleak future for us. Good positive to go from. Plumber quota is done for the day. You got a comment about the dues on the future?
No, about
dues.
dues.
Yeah, no.
Dues. No, so all I wanted to say was that we
Dues.
felt that dues is that there's a misconception between dues and costs with that, and we felt that needed to be communicated better to the members, so they understand what dues are and what the costs are to run our association.
Okay, cool.
So I just want to make that
Perfect.
like a comment.
Cool. Thank you very much. I think we can all agree that the future is going to be led by technology. Okay, I started 20 years ago, and I was still doing the Purolator PMTs with purchase orders going out every day by courier. Okay, so in 20 years, I've seen it gone where everything's now done over the internet through electronics and stuff, and that's just in my lifetime. 5 years from now, you know what? It's going to be a total different industry. And it's up to us as leaders of this thing, the people participating in the association, to help our members get to that next level. Putting up a website and being on social media isn't going to solve your problems if you're not doing it educated or confident or know what you're doing. Anybody can put out a tweet, but is it really doing anything for you? The problem is nowadays there's so many people that spend all their time 24 hours a day on the internet, shopping, looking, finding everything they know about you before they even contact you. You have to know what your presence out there is. And it's very important when we go into the future to hire somebody that knows what they're doing. Your brand is everything. We've talked about it. Everybody knows that. Basically, make sure you protect your brand into the future, because that's going to be the most important thing going forward and stuff like that. And as an association, I think it's our responsibility to basically make our members stronger by using that. And I've got a question from the floor.
Not so much a question.
Comment? Query?
One thing that was remiss from this, that we missed at this event today, was the idea of safety and chemical substances in products that come in from the suppliers. And I think we should address that in the future. To my knowledge, all of our guidance comes from PPPAI and ASI on the safety issue. But the chemical substances in our products that are sold is something that you can use as a tool for the little guy who's importing from China indiscriminately, and your end users really have to be aware of that. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Tony.
It's now 9:20 in case anyone needs to be running to a booth. But thank you everyone for coming, and we're small but we're mighty in terms of our voice.
Thank you all for coming again. Have a great show. Thank you again. Hope to see you next year.